Welcome to the BAM podcast. That's right, BAM, business and money instead of bitching and moaning. This is the 2.0 version of the top 3 podcast, True Underdog. This will give you an inside look at building a business, overcoming business and personal issues, and most of all, not bitching and buying into this bitch-ass cancel culture lifestyle. I'm tired of it. I'm sure you're tired of it. Take it from me, who I built 3 companies and have done over $1 billion in sales in my time. You're going to hear from cool-ass guests as well on my show. You have 0 time to bitch, time to make your move. Let's fucking go. Bam. Bam. I'm Jayson Waller with the BAM podcast. That's right, the business and money podcast. No bitching and moaning. Coming in, we're talking business. We're talking money. We're talking body. We're talking mind. Talking all the things to get to the next level. And today's episode is going to be fear of failure. That's correct. Fear of failure. Failing makes you worry about what other people think about you, right? We've got 10 different steps of what failure can do to you and the feelings that you have from that. And I think that anytime that you start a business or anytime that you take a new job or anytime that you go into a new relationship, I think you always have this fear of failure. And believe it or not, but 90% of all of those who fail aren't actually even defeated. They didn't fail. They just simply quit. Think about that. 9 out of 10 people that fail, that didn't get the results they wanted, that didn't take that job, that didn't open that business, they quit. 9 out of 10. So that tells me that in order to even think of winning, in order of even being in the conversation of being successful and winning, you can't quit. That's rule number 1. You can't quit. Whatever you start, you must finish. Whatever you begin, you must end. You can't just walk away and take your ball and go home. You can't give up on your team. You can't give up on your employees. You can't give up on your boss. You can't give up on your family. There are so many things in life that people just quit. And truth is it's actually feels like it's easier to quit, but it's actually harder. Because then long term, you have all this regret. And regret will haunt you for the rest of your life. Man, I wish I'd applied for that job, but I didn't. Well, you're going to think about that forever. Man, I wish I'd have asked that girl out, but I didn't. You're going to think about that as well. Man, I wish I would have opened that business and took a chance, but I didn't. Man, I wish I would have bought that stock, but I didn't. Man, I wish I would have invested in that company, but I didn't. Man, I wish I'd have bought that baseball card, but I didn't. I mean, the list can go on of things that we wish or should have or could have, but didn't execute and do. And the number one reason is fear of failure. People are so scared to fail and what people think of them. And if you can suppress that, if you can push that down and say, I don't care what they think about me, that I'm going to give it my all every time. And at least I can hang my hat up high saying I tried. I gave it my college all, right? I did what I could do. I put the pieces on the table and I played the game. I showed my cards and I played my best hand. It's okay to try and fail because you learn. It's not okay to quit because of fear of failure. I'm telling you, regret is tough. I talked about it in my book. When I was 14 and lived in Arizona, and I was, my dad was working at AT&T, a corning plant, and my mom worked at a bakery and made cakes, and decorated cakes with, birthday cakes and shit like that, cookies. And we didn't have a lot. We had a small little house outside of a nicer neighborhood. We were like in an average neighborhood, maybe a little bit below average, and the nicer neighborhood was one over. And we struggled. I mean, we had a car with no air conditioning. It was, I don't fucking even remember what kind of car it was, but my dad would call it, 460, 4 windows down, 60 miles an hour in the Arizona heat, no AC, driving. And that's how we cooled off. He'd pick me up at the skating rink, pick me up at ball game. It was embarrassing, but it is what it is. So, I remember he worked third shift a lot. Then he worked second shift a lot. Like he was always working. And he had a friend of his that owned a video store, the late Mike Roberts. And he owned a video store called New Movie Review. And this is back in the, early 90s when video stores were popping. Blockbusters were just coming out. Like it was a big deal. In fact, my first job was at the video store at 14 putting away movies. I'd be putting away, all the movies 2 or 3 days a week after school stacking them up high, walking and putting them behind the box. I know some of you remember what I'm talking about. And so my dad helped his friend Mike open up a lot of his video stores. And Mike was very successful. And my dad was blue collar, worked at AT&T, had a good job, made, a little bit below average money, but had benefits. Blue collar dude, worked his ass off. And my mom, like I said, worked at a bakery, right? Started as an entry-level cake decorator, moved her way up in the bakery at Fry's. So shout out to Fry's, right? And it was hard because, like I said, we didn't have a lot. And I was used to that. I remember my dad saying, all right, you got $100 for school clothes, every year. And I was like, all right. So I'd go somewhere and I'd have to go get the things on sale and hopefully get a pair of shoes. That's just the life we lived. When you live in that, you're used to that. It's nothing like, you're not like, oh my God, it's bad. It's when you get outside, you go, holy shit, I really didn't have a lot. Now, I know a lot of listeners out there have it way worse than me. I'm not trying to say in a contest. I'm just trying to enlighten you with what was going on. So my dad worked at AT&T. My mom found her real dad when she was 30 in the white pages. That's right. That's before internet and all that shit. Found her real dad, and he came out and visited us in like 92, 93. And he lived in North Carolina where her mom lived. Well, the plant in Arizona was closing, the AT&T plant. And my dad was going to have to transfer to keep his job because he already had like 14 years in the company. And so he was talking about transferring to either Arkansas or North Carolina. And my dad's friend, Mike Roberts, offered him an opportunity to open up a sub shop, submarine sandwich shop. And my mom, a cookie or bakery shop next to a video store. So the idea was the smells can go into the video store. And so I remember sitting in my bedroom and hearing my parents talk, and it was getting a little elevated. And I'd eavesdrop in there and I would listen, and I heard my dad saying that, Mike offered him to do this, to open up the sub shop, and that my mom, could also have a bakery. And my mom's like, well, Jeremy and Jesse, those are my two siblings, my brother and sister. They have asthma really bad. We won't have benefits. This house is kind of expensive. My parents filed bankruptcy multiple times, so like their credit was shot. And they said, she said, I don't know if it's a safe bet. My dad goes, well, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, but I think you're right. I think we need to stay, with AT&T and transfer over. And, my mom's like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. End of discussion. We're going to transfer over. And I remember him going to talk to Mike, and he came back, talked about it, and Mike was disappointed, but he transferred. And at the moment, when you're 14, it doesn't register of how important that decision was, how important the decision was because of fear of failure. My dad was scared to fail, and he wanted to stay in the norm, and he wanted to stay what was consistent, and he wanted to stay with what was safe. Or what I like to say is he played to not lose. He didn't play to win. And in life, you got to play to win. With opportunities, you got to play to win. You can't play to not lose. That's safe betting. You're not going to get far. Now, look, a lot of folks do that, and that's okay. But that's not me. And that's not a lot of you. A lot of you know you're made to play to win. You just got to get that fear of failure out of your way to quit being scared. Now, fast forward, we moved to North Carolina. I had a lot of friends in Arizona in middle school. I was loving life. I felt like I was pretty popular. Things were great. It was just fantastic. And then we moved, and I was heartbroken. And when we moved, I did not fit in. We moved first in these apartments over at by Northwest Cabarrus High School. And I went to school there. I got in a fight like the first day with this kid, calling my necklace fake. It was fake. And we got in a fist fight. And then just lived in these apartments. It was bad. And my dad was looking for a trailer. I didn't even know what the fuck a trailer was back then. And so he found a trailer, bought a trailer, and rented some land in a trailer park. And we moved into a trailer park over by Central Cabarrus High School, where I ended up going to school for, almost 2 years, and met my wife, right? So shout out to Central Cabarrus Vikings. But we moved there, and I didn't know what fucking trailer park was. And I remember going to school, when I went to school at the apartments my freshman year, it wasn't that bad. I didn't know anybody. I kind of felt like an outsider. People were kind of cold. I hung out with a couple people. Buddy Boss was an older guy that I hung out with sometimes. I don't really remember anybody else. So then when we moved to the trailer park at Central Cabarrus, I still didn't fit in. You know, all of the kids there from Harrisburg and from Concord, they all grew up together. They all knew each other. They were all friends. I didn't fit in. I had my hair slicked back. I kind of looked like a white Chicano. You know, all my friends were Hispanic and Mexican back in Arizona. So I thought I was kind of a gangbanger wannabe, and I just didn't fit in. And when I moved to North Carolina in 94 and I went to Central Cabarrus, I remember going to lunch in the cafeteria for the first time and seeing people separated because of their race sitting. And I was shocked. I've never seen anything like that before. In Arizona, everybody sat together. It didn't matter if you were purple, black, green, brown, didn't matter. You know, what mattered is where you lived and what set you claim and how hard you were. Like, nobody gave a shit about race. And when I moved to North Carolina, I saw that different. I saw black kids sitting at tables and white kids sitting at tables. And there wasn't a lot sitting at either, mixing. Same thing with teachers. And I was just so shocked. And I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in with the rednecks, with their Chewbacca and their overalls. No offense, but it's just not my cup of tea. And the black people didn't like me because I was white and kind of acted like I was Mexican and, you know, had a bandana in my back pocket and thought I was a gangster. Like, it was tough for a 14-year-old me to show up to school in North Carolina like that. And it was odd. And I made friends in the trailer park of all kinds of walks of life. I had black friends. I had a friend, one of my best friends, late David Stennett, who was Honduras and white. I did have a redneck friend, my late friend Benji Anderson, who lived in Midland. And the first time he ever spoke to me was in health class. He looked over to me. I shit you not. This is what he said. "Hey, y'all celebrate Christmas in Arizona?" I was like, "What? Yeah, motherfucker, what? Santa brings his fat ass right down a cactus. Like, of course we celebrate Christmas in Arizona. What the fuck are you talking about?" But he just who he was, right? And he ended up being one of my best friends. And so shout out Jason Coleman, one of my best friends. Bill Lanuto moved in from Florida. Late Bill Lanuto, one of my best friends. Like, that was kind of my crew. We were all outsiders, all from out of state except Ben. All didn't fit in. All lived in the trailer park except Bill and Ben. Ben lived in his own trailer. And we just didn't fit into the school. And I tell you this because I remember getting frustrated at the school, people making fun of me because of my fake Tommy Hilfigers, girls, you know, being rude to me, talking about you live in that trailer park of Southbrook. And like, I came from a school where I was pretty popular. I could fight a little bit. I had girlfriends. Like, this was like, I felt like I was blackballed. I felt like I was judged because of where I lived, and I was only allowed to hang out with people who lived like me. It didn't feel good. And it bothered me a lot. Wore me down. I had this fixation of like, I don't want to be judged because of where I live. I can't control that. Or what I have when I'm a child. I couldn't control that. And it would eat at me. Now, I never got resentful to my parents because my parents were the hardest working people I've ever met, right? They had their own problems. You know, I had some verbal and physical abuse as a kid. You know, growing up is a different time, but they were hard workers and they loved hard, fought hard, but loved hard. And so I didn't have resent for their hard work ethic. I was resentful because we didn't have a lot and it was struggled, and I'd have to help my dad deliver papers in the middle of the night, then go to school. And I would be getting a job at like Boston Market, or, you know, when I had my license, I bought my first car for $350 and, you know, had hubcaps, no radio, insulation falling off the top. You know, it was 5 colors. Like, it was my ride. But I just didn't fit in. You know, I was broke, lived in the trailer park. And so I had this goal to do better. And I remember sitting at the table playing spades with my mom, this guy, CJ, and Ben. And I remember telling my mom, I was just turned 15 at the time. I think it was the summer of my freshman going into my sophomore year. And I told my mom, I said, "Look, I plan on trying to find a way to be rich when I get older, you know, owning a business, driving a Winnebago. You know, me and Ben are going to travel the world in the Winnebago, have Playboy bunnies on it. It's going to be great." That was my whole mindset at 14 to 15 years old. Mom's like, "How are you going to do that?" And I said, well, I told my mom, I said, "When that unicorn comes by, I'm going to jump on it. No offense to Dad, but he didn't. He missed his opportunity. I'm watching him work third shift at AT&T. I'm watching him, then move to second shift and deliver papers in the middle of the night. I'm having to help him. I'm watching my mom work third shift. Like, I watched them struggle. And I remember telling myself at 15 years old, I never want to be in that position like they're in. I want to be in the position where I control my destiny. I want to be in the position that when my cards are dealt, I'm playing to win. I'm not playing to not lose. And I love my pops, but that was a lesson that I learned from him inadvertently and subconsciously, that his fear of failure really gave me the passion and drive that I wanted to never be scared. I remember telling her, like, I get the opportunity. I'm opening a business. I'm not scared. I'm risking it all. And, fast forward, that's kind of how I always lived my life. Like, I struggled working I did a podcast back when I did the True Underdog podcast, 24 before 24. I had 24 jobs before I was 24, before I opened my first business. I struggled working for people because I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to have sky's the limit of income. I wanted to have sky's the limit of growing and hiring people and self-worth and growing your business and growing your customer base. I didn't want to be limited. I didn't want to be caged. I didn't want to be handcuffed. I wanted to take the journey and create my own map. And so I think that experience from my dad really, really, really helped me figure out who I am and how I need to take it to the next level and how I need to make sure that I'm not scared of that fear of failure. And sometimes you get reminded, because like I still, to this day, even though that's how I live, and I'm investing in myself right now in this podcast and things that I want to do in the future. It's still scary. I'm still scared to fail. Like my previous venture with Pink Energy. When you run a company, you build a business, it's like your child. And I gave everything I've got to Pink Energy. And a lot of people, there's assumptions out there. Oh, he made billions and tens of millions and all of this and that's all bullshit. Everything I had was in that business. We kept reinvesting it in the company. And so when it crashed due to Generac and the faulty Snap RS 801s, and their misinformation and their misleading and everything that they've done, thank goodness there's 2 class action lawsuits against them now to try to get some justice for these consumers and to put some truth out there. But when that came crashing earlier this year, it came so fast and abrupt that we're in shock. Like, how do we manage this? What do we do? Crisis control. That fear, you're in flight or fight mode, and I'm a fighter, right? My old business partner, he's a flyer. It gets tough. He spreads his wings and hides in a cave. It gets tough for me. I'm fighting, right? I'm fighting today, every day, and twice on Sunday. It's just who I am. And you're either with me or you're against me when this is happening. And I'm the type, we're going to burn the boats and our ass is going to destroy this island. We're going to take it over and then we'll build new boats. Like, we're not leaving. I want all my soldiers and comrades to be in this together. And so, when you build a company or you take a chance, you're going to fail. You're going to fail some. Like, built a great company in Pink Energy / Power Home, built a great company in Power Home Technologies and other security company. Like, when you build a company, you have these failures, but I never quit. You fail and you learn, and then you adjust, and then you get bigger and you get better and you get bigger and you get better. And you learn from those things. The knowledge I received the last 15 years running companies is you couldn't pay for the knowledge, right? Up and down, building $1 billion business, almost going public twice, then losing it all. Like, there's not many people that can do that. It's tough, but it's wisdom. And I wouldn't have that experience if I had the fear of failure. I wouldn't have that experience if I didn't take a chance. I didn't bet on myself. I didn't jump in and say, I can do this and not quit when it got dark. Because that first year, like, I'll talk about solar, like that first year in solar, didn't get a paycheck for almost 18 months, put all my money into the business, everything I made from the previous company, sold my house, put it into the business. I risked it all to open this company. And there were days that it was dark. There were days that I was scared and I was like, this isn't going to work. And I remember calling people like, man, what do I do? Like, I'm so nervous. Like, oh, you should keep pushing. And thank God I had some good friends and good family, to support me and keep pushing, because there were times I almost quit. And I didn't. I kept pushing through. And, sometimes you got to become the storm. When the storm's there, I always talk about be a buffalo and run through it, or be a cow and run from it and it just chases you. Sometimes you also got to become the storm, take it over. You've got to control everything. You've got to take and control your destiny and your map, and you've got to decide everything, because ultimately it is your choice, and ultimately it's your life, and it's your happiness, it's your success, it's your failure, it's your learning. Regret is the worst thing. If I never opened a company, I'd never get to talk about these things. I'd never get to do a podcast. I'd never get to do a commercial. Barry Sanders, my favorite player of all time. Shout out to Barry. All of these things that I got to do and live a really pretty cool life by pursuing my dreams. And it's that business is broken and it hurts. You have to grieve. It's sad. It's sad for the consumers. It's sad for the employees. It's sad for the industry. It's sad for the executives. It's sad. But I could sit there and I could lay in mud and I could cry and I could bitch and I could blame game. I'm not lying when I say vast majority of the problems is Generac. That's a fact. But I'm not just going to sit still. I got to do other things, right? I got to provide. I want to build something new. I want to build out this podcast. I want to build out the BAM network. I want to do things in life still. And I'm not broken. I'm bent. And that's part of it. That's failing, but learning from that and getting better. And so, I ask that if you're on the fence about something, you're on the fence about a decision that you want to make in life, whether it be to take a job and you're scared, don't be scared. Just take the job. Go out and do it. You've nothing to lose. I promise. If you believe you can finish this, if you believe you can give it your all and you believe in what that is, then do it. Because if you don't do it, that regret will haunt you for the rest of your life. It haunted my dad. I love my pops, but I know he replays that in his head over and over and over and over again. But I appreciate that he did that, because if he didn't do that, I wouldn't be me. And everybody has their place and everybody has the plan. And what you do with your place and what you do with your plan is what matters. Maybe you're looking to open a business. Maybe you're sitting there and you're like, you know what? I've had enough. I want to have my own income. I want to have my own destiny. I want to have my own time. I want to control what it is I do. Maybe you have a passion for something you're excited about. Do it. Make a difference in this world. Maybe you're the next Elon Musk. Maybe you're the next Jeff Bezos. Maybe you are the next you that's going to make a difference in this world. You never know. Don't be scared to take the leap and put the effort in. 10 signs here that I got 10 signs here that are basically that you might have fear of failure. Failing makes you worry about what other people think about you. We just mentioned that. Like, you don't want to be judged. And I think that, it's really sad. I've got some friends that are football players, and, Matt Prater is one of my best friends in the world. And if he misses a kick, people hate him. They don't realize he's a human with a wife and kids and a family and bills and mortgage and pets and parents and feelings. And trust me, I'm as guilty as them all. Before I met some of these players, oh man, the guy missed a kick. Oh, he couldn't throw a touchdown. This sucks. Like, players, NFL player, all athletes, it's a thankless job. They're judged not based on who they are as a person, but who they are as an athlete, which is wrong. And it makes them struggle in their position. And you use a quarterback or you use a pitcher or a field goal kicker as an example, and they struggle. Like, what do people think? Like, if I miss that kick, what are they going to think? And I would watch it crush him. It would crush him because he doesn't want to let people down. And that's the fear of failure. And sometimes you got to get over that. And I remember having deep conversations with Matt, like, dude, like, shake that shit off, dude. You're a rock star, dude. Do your thing. Like, nobody's perfect. You're just going to get better. You're just going to get better. And I love that guy. But that's my point of, like, you think of these quarterbacks, you think of these pitchers, you think of these business owners, you think of these celebrities, all these people that are everyone on the outside, especially with fame, look at them and judge them based on just results. They forget that, you can't just judge people on results, because people have feelings and character traits and morals and things they want to do in life. And so they're real people. And, they struggle just like you do with worried about what people are going to think about them. And it's unfortunate, but we got to get that mindset out, right? Because that's one of the number one things for fear of failure. Failing makes you worry about your ability to pursue the future you desire. So I always go back to there's no elevator in life. You got to take the stairs. And when you walk up and you're like, man, I want to build $100 million company. And you look all the way up, it's like, damn, that's a lot of work in 5, 7, 10 years to make $100 million company. I ain't got it. I'm out. That's what happens. People quit before they get started, or people quit too early. I just mentioned earlier, 90% of those that, 90% of those who fail are not actually defeated. They simply quit. Right. So they go and they look at, oh man, that's 100 floors up. There's no fucking way I can get up there. Well, get to the second floor, then get to the third floor, then the fourth, then the fifth, then the sixth. You get it. All of a sudden you look down, you're like, holy shit, I'm on the 52nd floor. Damn. I'm more than halfway there. It's been a couple, I'm crushing it. Small goals, small wins. Do not worry about the ability to pursue what you desire. You can't, when you're going to fail, you're going to go up those stairs and you're going to fall down. Then you're going to go up, then you're going to fall a little down. Then you're going to go up. That's how it works. You just stay grinding. Failing makes you worry about how smart or capable you are. I think that is another thing. Kids in school, the pressure. When I was growing up, the pressure was you got to go to school and then you got to go to college. Man, my grades were not very good. I was super great at math. I still can't fucking write and spell correct. Like I suck at writing in English. And, I used to have this complexity and insecurity of people that were educated were better than me. They were smarter than me. And I was scared to be a leader, and I was scared of failing because I wasn't as good as them. And it took me a couple of years to overcome that. It took me a couple of years to realize, like, it doesn't fucking matter. You control it. And if they work for you, there's a reason they work for you. They believe in you. Don't let them down. Be that leader you need to be. Doesn't matter about education. Doesn't matter about what people think. Just go. Right. You often get distracted by tasks that prevent you from completing your preparation, which in hindsight were not as urgent as they seemed at the time. Right. You tend to procrastinate and run out of time to complete your preparation adequately. Basically, in a nutshell, is sometimes our priorities are screwed up. In order for us to focus and achieve our goals, sometimes you have to shift your priorities on an ongoing basis daily, right? Sometimes your priority needs to be, hey, I'm going to put more time in on my body and my mind. Oh, I'm going to put more time in my business and my money. See how I tied in that bam? No pun intended, right? So you have to be able to prioritize what's in front of you and what you're going to do and put the time in that's going to make a difference. The problem is everybody wants to be great at everything, and you can't be great at everything. You can be great at a couple things. You can be good at a couple things, and then you're not going to be very good at a couple things as well. You got to learn to accept that. And you got to spend more time on what you're great at and less time on what you suck at. So you have to be able to do that. So you can be great. You can be exceptionally great at something. Like separate yourself from the competition, right? Elevate yourself, level up, do what it is you've got to do to step up to the next spot. Like you can't just sit there and play around with, oh, I wish I could do this and this. No. If you're good at that and that's your ability and that's your skill, double down on it, triple down on it, quadruple down on it, bet on it, push it, make that an exceptional superhero skill where people are like, damn, that dude is the shit at this. And that's how you continue to level up. You can't sit there and worry about all the stuff that you're not great at, because then that fear of failure starts to really kick in and it just starts to beat you up. And listen, you need your body and mind clear as you're progressing in this life. You can't have these little mishaps, these mistakes, or that feeling of failing, even though failure, if you put effort in, is just learning. That feeling that you get of, oh, I didn't achieve it, I didn't lose, that stuff will eat you alive. You got to shift that stuff to the side and stay focused. You got to control your mindset. You got to control your destiny. You got to focus on what's in front of you and what's best for you, your family, and those that you love. The last thing to wrap this episode up is, you may be in a position relationship-wise where you're scared of what it looks like with or without someone. And, I've been there. I have the best wife in the world that supports me. Lifts me up, tells me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, pops my head if it gets a little too big, brings me down to humility, and controls between the buoys for me. But we've had our own problems for sure. And it's been tough. It's been a tough ride. We were kids raising kids. And so I am not one to give marital advice by no means. But I am one to tell you that the cycles change, that your feelings change, that there's a moment you're chasing and you feel rejected. And then there's a moment that someone's chasing and you're rejecting them. And you got to find that middle ground. And, I go through, people I care and love that they're going through relationship issues where they're scared to be alone, but then they settle. And, my big thing is if you're not happy, you're not in the right spot. If someone can't make you better, you're not with the right person. If someone isn't challenging you, you're not with the right person. If someone isn't pushing you to be better, you're not with the right person. Like, those are the things that I look at. I mean, of course, there's other things that matter. Are they sweet to me? To this, all of those things, right? But ultimately, some people play it safe, even in relationships. Like, well, I just don't want to be alone, so I'm going to settle. Well, if you're not happy and that person's not making you better, you're losing right now. You're not winning, you're losing. If someone is making you better, and look, relationships are like roller coasters. There are times that someone will make you better, and there's times that they don't. And it's all about tolerance. It's all about, love and intuition and how are you going to get through those things. I'm a big fan of therapy, right? Like, whether it be personal or, marriage therapy, I think it's important. I think it's important to have a referee. I think it's important to have a different opinion. I think it's important to talk about things. I've had a therapist on and off for a long time. It helps. It allows you to get things off your chest and look at things differently. I had a conversation with my wife last night about things, and, she made me see some things that I got to work on in life. And I think that's important, that I'm like, you know what? Thank you. She's like, well, I'm like, no, like, thank you. So, because you want to be better, you want the best version of yourself. And so you may be handcuffed in a relationship, or you may be handcuffed in a dead-end job that you don't like. And because of your comfort of staying the same and not having change, and because of your fear of failing, you tolerate that. I challenge you to not. I challenge you that if your fear of being alone is that it, and that person isn't making you happy, and that person isn't making you better, it's a lot better to be alone and work on yourself. There's someone else out there for you, or maybe that person comes around. Or in your business or in your career, maybe you're handcuffed and you're not happy in what you're doing. Then you're not living. Get out there and do something you want to do. Quit being scared to take a chance and take a leap on yourself. Quit being scared to bet on yourself. The time is now to bet on you. Life is short and tomorrow's not promised. Get out there and be the best version of yourself you can be. Get out there and live your life and push that fear, suppress that fear of failing down to the bottom, kick its ass, punch it in the mouth, become the storm. Don't tolerate it anymore. Go out and fight through and be the best you can be. Bam!